Hey, hey! Let's check if we're live. Is it party time? Are we going? Let's see. Check the sound. Hello? Hello? Yep, we got sound. Okay. Cool. So it's been a really rough week for me. So, yeah, I was thinking, let's just do some programming. Do some chilling out. Cause yeah, it's been rough for a lot of people. Let's see. Let's turn on C418. Usually get some chill stuff. And let's see. How about, I forgot something, didn't I? All right. All right. Why does it keep doing that? So it keeps opening and closing or something. That's weird. Okay, so we're working on Risk, and last time we had throwing the dice, and we did moving the armies. So and also we figured out how to finish an attack round. So that's this attack cycle after. So gives back any generals that are currently alive, it'll give them back. Any marshals that are currently alive will be given back. And then we have success and failure of a given attack cycle. I don't know why I'm recapping previous stuff. It's more of just I don't know. I'm kind of just reminding myself where we are. And so it goes, if the defense army has been defeated, then it is considered a success. And if the defense army still is around, then it's considered a failure. So in the case of a failure, we just kill off the active admiral, and then the rest of this just kind of follows through with that. And then in the case of a success, things are more interesting. So here we have give back the alive admiral, and we set the country ID to 199 because that's the country of the boat. It moves everybody off the boat, and then kill off the attack army just because it's the boat. We don't need a boat anyway. However, if it's a normal success, like no admirals were involved, then we do the admiral stuff instead. Otherwise, we tag it as a success. The minimum stuff is moved over automatically. The minimum determined by the last dice that were used. And then we give players tokens to move the armies. So then we create these scoreboards for min move army. You must keep one, and you have to move at least the minimum. And then we give tokens to allow you to move the armies. And then let's see, so it does that. And then at the end of once all the army movements have been completed, so that's when we activate Z move armies confirm. Then gotta clear the buffer, move that, kill the buffer. Okay, those are generalized tasks. And then afterwards, well, this is where things get interesting. Because after that, presumably what you do is, at that point the attack is over, all is done. So at that point, let's look at the board. So we just did this, the attack cycle. Well, not really actually. We need to do the starting the attack cycle. Okay. So we need to select the starting country and select the destination country. That's basically what that is. Okay. So, let's see here. To do the starting country and ending country. This is where things get interesting. Because this is where, yeah, I think this is where we're gonna use the we're gonna start using country IDs, and we're actually gonna need to worry about that. Yeah. Okay. So let's think through this. We need to have a predicate that will basically confirm that it'll basically be able to do a comparison of like, are we selecting the correct country? And it also allows us to import the country ID information. So I think we can copy from 5D Chess with Multiverse Time Travel. And I believe this thing needs to be called match country. I'm pretty sure. Let's see, when we had success admiral, match country ID. Okay. So we got match country ID. So this is, instead of 5temp, it's ktemp. And instead of letter chord, it should be, what do we call it? Country ID? Nope, we just called it country ID. Okay, not K country ID. So replace that with country ID. Cool. Okay, so this will tell us if the, yeah, cool. So whenever we do predicate equals match country ID, that'll basically say that, that'll basically be a way to confirm which country we're selecting, well, which country is being used. Okay, so let's do attack cycle before. Okay. And when we punch the destination country, we also need to choose the defending player. Okay. So first off, this is very much a phase-based thing. So I think this is where we start actually doing the kind of looping phase idea that has been used in multiple different games, multiple different other games. But this is where that's really going to come in helpful. So let's create a scoreboard objectives. Add. We're going to do attack cycle phase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Dang it. About attack phase. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, good. So we do that. We're then going to have scoreboard players add ktemp attack phase 1. Okay. So this is where, if you have the ability to play any admirals or play any spies, which you'll only have the ability to do so if you're playing by castle risk rules, or alternatively just punch the starting country. Okay, so we're going to do execute if score ktemp attack phase matches 1. Allow playing any admirals, spies, or punch the starting country to begin an attack. So it's not so much steps as it is just like, once you punch the starting country, you're not allowed to play any more admirals or anything like that. So if the attack phase matches 1, then we run function. Okay, attack cycle. We're just going to call this before phase1.mc function. So this is risk the attack cycle before phase 1. Okay, and then once you have that, we do if there is an admiral, then so we run before phase 1, and then once you either select a starting country or play an admiral, so playing any spies, you just do that. As soon as you play an admiral or you punch a starting country, so in fact, this should actually be, it should be moved down there. Okay, so basically deal with spies first. And then if there is an admiral, once a choice is made, so if there's an admiral, then allow to move pieces onto the boat. So if we're on phase 2, then we need to do stuff related to the admiral. So that means like, so then we summon a boat and allow pieces to move onto the boat. Well, actually, oh, this is complicated. Okay, so where's CJ when you need her to be able to actually be the person to, like, I don't know, I seem to be absorbing smarts. Okay. So we do... So what's the order of events here? We should do play any spies, obviously. That's a good phase 1. Play spies. And then... Do we have a thing with the attack cycle during that lets us play generals and marshals? Or did I forget to do that? Yeah, okay, we do. Good, okay. Okay, order of events. Phase 1 is spies. You know what, let's just do that. Okay, so attack cycle. So we're in phase 1. This is just for spies. And also set up to punch a country / play an admiral. Okay, so let's do this. So we do amethyst equals allow to play an admiral. And this here will be amethyst equals allow to play a spy. Okay. So we're going to do, let's see, 11, 56, 10. Execute in, word games, risk, then set block there, amethyst block. And we do that, and we do one of those. Okay. Okay, so allow to play an admiral or a spy. And then we also need to set up to punch a country. So let's see. It's the best way to do that. Okay, so in the risk and castle risk boards, at every country, we basically need to summon an interaction. Okay, so let's see how big this interaction should be. Function risk, zmap, castle risk, generate countries. Okay. We're going to execute at n, tag equals country, and summon an interaction. Let's see how big this hitbox should be. Okay, so definitely not that big. Data merge entity add n type equals interaction. Maybe 0.6. Yeah, that seems reasonable. Most of these countries are pretty big, so... Although I am concerned about some place like... I'm concerned with a place like Southern Europe. But the countries are also spaced out enough where they shouldn't be confused for each other. So if we do width 0.6, height 0.6, yeah. And that'll also cover Montenegro, the really tiny country in Castle Risk. Is it fine for Irkutsk? Yes. Okay. So I think this will be sufficient. Okay, so we can remove those, remove country names. Okay, so these are all tagged as country. Okay, let's close that, close, and that needs to stay. And this is what we're working on. So we're going to do execute add E, predicate equals risk, in dimension, tag equals country. Add every single one of those. In fact, we're going to do execute as those. Run execute add at S, run summon an interaction with width 0.6, height 0.6, and the tags on this guy will be select country. Okay. Okay, so this will also be where we go into our thing here for generic punches. So when you punch an interaction, that does its thing. Okay, so we select a country. We allow you to play a spy or an admiral. Okay. Oh, and we need to do execute add E, predict equals risk in dimension, tag equals select country, execute as at E, run execute add at S, run scoreboard players operation at S country ID equals at E predicate equals risk in dimension tag equals country distance equals 0.1 sort equals nearest. I hope that's not actually necessary. And let's make this an at n, that way we can get rid of this sort equals nearest part. Import the country ID. So this is basically summon boxes so that you can punch a country and select it, and then import the country ID, that way we can make use of it. Okay. Okay, so then we do execute if entity at E. Okay, what did we decide to tag those? Oh, I don't have my usual stack of commands for interactions. Interactions and tokens. Okay, so then we do execute as at E, predict equals risk in dimension, type equals interaction, NBT equals. So if you had an interaction, then we run add, right click, and we do tag equals right click on target, run the function, risk right click. Okay. And really we should do, and there's no reason for you to really be right-clicking a thing with a token in hand. Okay? Is there ever a situation where you'll want to hold a token and then right-click a country? I don't think so. I can't think of any situations where that'd be useful. So we can put in a thing here where unless entity at s scores equals k use token equals 1 or more, in which case we'll want to move this up here. That way we don't so basically that means, so we add right click, and this is right click in an interaction is going to, it's going to tokens are going to take precedence over interaction. Actually, there is a situation where at the very start of the game, you want to, the way I was thinking to do hidden armies is you walk over with the hidden army card and you right click a country to basically latch onto it. Okay. So we should not have this. Okay. Cool. And then from there we do execute as at e, predicate equals risk in dimension, tag equals right click, run data remove entity at s interaction. And then we do tag at s remove right click. That cleans up our work. And then we take these and we copy it up here, where this time we do punches. So add how should we tag this? Punch. Okay, so we have attack, risk punch, and this is on attacker, and then remove attack, and remove punch. Okay. Cool. Yeah, so this will execute as the player that's actually doing the punching. So, if the thing that we punched is a select country, then, so we just punched to select a country. So if we're in, well, things will change. Things will be different. So we do if score ktemp attack phase matches 1, if it's attack phase before phase 1, then the country you punch should be one that you own. So here we run the check of, did you punch the country that actually is proper for you? So we do then execute if entity at s tag equals player 1, and if what you punched is not player 1, then we run tag at, we yell at the player. Tell at S, you don't own this country. Okay. Excellent. So that means when we start up the, that means in here we also need to import we also need to import the player names. So add at s, run execute add at s, run execute if entity picked equals risk in dimension tag equals country distance equals 0.01. If that country is tagged as player 1, or owned by player 1, then we run tag at s, add player 1. Okay, so each interaction box, and we run it at the location as well, if the country that it's on is tagged as player 1, then tag it as player 1. Okay. Cool. Sometimes you just gotta use your hands to do this logic stuff. And we can just update this for all the players. Okay, cool. And then if it's independent, then we should also tag the interaction as independent. Okay, cool. So if you were in phase 1 and you are player 1, but you punch something that's not player 1, if entity that is not player 1, then you don't own this country. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 different opportunities to yell at the player. I love the fact that we have run, return, run. Because it really, that is possibly the biggest game changer in terms of programming. Just the ability to interrupt a function halfway through its execution. Just go like, hey, if this happens, stop right now and say, and yell at the player. I mean, just the ability to return is amazing, but then return run also means you can throw an error message as you interrupt the flow. And it also lets you clean up score points, which is really important for a card game hub where there's like 30-something games running simultaneously. You don't want to be storing too much data all at once. Because also it'll get hard to keep track of if you do that. Okay. The country you punch should be one that you own. And then let's see. Okay, so it should be phase 1 or 2. So I think phase 2 of Plane and Admiral. Nah, it should not be counted as a separate phase, I don't think. So if it's attacking before phase 1, if it's attack before phase 1, then the country you punch should be one that you own. You don't own this country. In which case, but if all is well, then at the end we run return run function risk attack cycle before. Oh, actually what we should do is then we run this is actually kind of challenging. So if we have an active admiral, which would be if this was an amethyst block here. So we do in board games risk. If block there is an amethyst block. So if you have an active admiral, then then we treat it as then tag it as admiral country, because that's where you're gonna draw troops for the boat. Okay, so if we're in phase 1 and there's an active admiral, then we run tag at E, risk and dimension, tag equals punch. We tag it as admiral country. Okay. Let's turn on about life-changing moments seen minor in pictures. I love that song titles with this album. Like, this is a 13-second song it's called "After You Hear This, You Are Older." Yeah. Okay. So if it's an amethyst block, tag it as Admiral Country. Otherwise, if it's not an amethyst block, then add it as Attack Army. Actually, yeah, we tag the punch thing as Attack Army, and we also execute at E at entity. Run taggedy. We tag the country as Admiral Country as well. Tag it as Admiral, risk in dimension, tag equals country, distance equals 0.1, add Admiral Country. And then similarly here, if it's a sandstone, so there's no active Admiral, then the thing that you punch is going to be the Attack Army. Okay. So if it's an active Admiral, tag it as Attack Admiral Country. Otherwise, tag it as Attack Army. And then once you select your country, then we run the function to move on to the next phase of the attack. Okay. This seems okay. Cool. And then if we are still in phase 1, this is where we have the right click. And where we have the function to play card. Yeah, the cards are going to get weird, so let's not do that yet. Tag it as Attack Army. Okay, cool. And then we run attack cycle before. So now we go into here, and we move on to phase 2. So phase 1, we start the attack, and we also allow for spies and stuff. So then in phase 2, yeah, okay, so if we're in phase 2, and if the block here is an amethyst block, 1156.9 is an amethyst block, then this is where we move pieces onto the boat. So when you summon the Admiral, it'll place the boat as well. Actually, let's not. Okay, attack cycle. We should initialize Admiral. So phase 2 is exclusively if you have an admiral. Risk the attack cycle before phase 2 initialize admiral. Otherwise, if you don't have an active admiral, then we essentially skip phase 2. Yep. So then if that block is a sandstone, then we don't actually have an admiral involved. And so we can just jump straight to phase 3. Let's go over to players, set ktemp, attack phase 2, 3. Okay. Otherwise we skip this step. So then, this we do, okay, so now we do figure out which countries you are allowed to attack. Figure out which countries are allowed to, which countries you can attack. And then punch the destination country. Okay, so this is attack phase 3. Run function. Risk attack cycle, z attack cycle before phase 3. So we do before phase 3. And then when we finish selecting a country here and punch the destination country, that phase will also determine who's going to be the defender. And once we have that, then we can run the function attack cycle during. Okay. So this gives the dice, places down the stuff, allows playing an admiral, and allows playing a marshal. Okay, cool. Cool. So then we do run. Let's see. We're gonna run. We don't need to run a function. What we need to do is we need to do basically stop the attack phase. Stop the attack phase before. So we're gonna do run function attack cycle during, and then stop this. Okay. Once done, stop the before process. Okay. So phase 3 is kind of the critical one here. So when we initialize the admiral, we're going to do execute in board games risk run Here's something to consider. We might want to place the admirals somewhere near the country, but still on the ocean. So I was thinking do something kind of like a... So in Mario Kart, when you run off the course, there's like normally Lakitu picks you up and puts you back on the track, right? But it's not just gonna... Lakitu doesn't just put you back on the closest part of the track. What he does is he find there's particular spots where Lakitu is able to drop you off. And they're very specific locations. And Lakitu just picks whichever one is closest. So, I mean, that's how you have, for example, ultra shortcuts. They more or less take advantage of the fact that you basically go backwards and dive off a cliff, or you dive off a cliff and you go backwards in a way that the game can't detect you going backwards, at which point Lakitu picks you up and puts you behind the finish line. So when you cross the finish line, it counts as a lap. So, yeah. So I think having a Lakitu system, but for an admiral. So for example, if you're attacking any of these countries via admiral, just place the boat over here. Or if you're attacking a country over here, place the admiral here, for example. So we're gonna run. Okay, so we're gonna do execute at E, predicate equals risk in dimension, tag equals admiral country. Oh, and as part of the attack cycle before, we should also... Now we can do this as part of the initialize admiral. But we want to give the player tokens. Risk Z. So we're going to do... what did I call that? Z move armies. Give tokens. So for this one, we need 4 inputs. We have move army 1, move army 2, and then min move army 1 and min move army 2. So we're going to do, and at the end of this, hold up. Okay, we should not delete the scoreboard. Okay. So we do scoreboard objectives, add min move army 1 and min move army 2. We do tag at E, predicate equals risk in dimension, tag equals country, scores equals country ID equals 199. add move army 2, because we're moving stuff onto the boat. And we're moving stuff off of the... We're moving stuff away from move army 1, from Admiral Country. So then we do scoreboard players, set temp, min move army 1. So you need to leave behind at least 1, and you need to move at least 1. Okay. Cool. So then we give tokens based on that. And here we also do, we're gonna scoreboard objectives. Actually, that's done in the confirm phase, right? Confirm? Yeah. Okay, so that's done when you confirm. And then if attacking with Admiral, move on to next attack phase before. So we do execute if score ktemp attack phase matches 2. So if we're in the phase where we're supposed to move stuff onto the boat and we just hit confirm, that means we're good to go, move on to the next step. So we run the function risk the attack cycle. Oh no. Run attack cycle before. Yep. Okay. If this was moving armies onto the Admiral boat, then we move on to the next attack phase. Cool. Okay. So this basically takes care of that stuff there. But otherwise we need to do run execute at E, execute at S, run execute at E, put equals risk in dimension, tag equals let's maybe have that as a separate thing. So based on the map, this is entirely based on which map we're using. So that means we want this. So if we're using the risk map, we have one set of Admiral points. And then okay, so we do execute in board games risk, if block 1258 minus 9 is a redstone block. Run function risk zmap risk slash Admiral points. So this is going to summon a bunch of Admiral points. And then if the block is instead over here, then our Admiral points is going to be for a castle risk. So we summon the Admiral points, and then tag equals Admiral point let's make that an @n, run summon an item display at that location, and okay, so then the item display needs to be not that. Let's go to info. So it's a boat 3713. Okay, we need to open up MC Stacker to do this. Okay, so we're gonna summon a boat. This is an item display. We're gonna have to make it a paper with not item model, custom model data, custom model data 3713, right? What is it? Yep, 3713. And then, okay. So that's that. We're going to tag it as a boat, and this is going to be the new boat. So we do scoreboard player set, ktemp, at e, predict equals risk, in dimension, new boat, tag equals new boat. We're going to set its country ID to 199, which is not a country that exists on the map except when there's a boat. So it's functionally like having just a floating country. Okay, gonna refill in some tea. Let's see. So we set the new boat to country ID 199. And then from there, I think that's really all we need to do to initialize the admiral. And actually, I think okay, so the order of events, you play the admiral and then punch the country, at which point it'll summon the boat and get things ready. And we're going to start off this with having one extra army. Set it to 1. Essentially, the admiral himself actually counts as a person. And that's purely just for attack purposes, because the idea is if you have one person on the boat, you can still make an attack. It's not considered a failure until until it's completely depleted. Okay. So this is going to be tagged as country and also new boat. Cool. So from there, so now we have a boat. And we give tokens to allow you to move to the move stuff onto this thing. Okay, so we can give tokens. Okay, this is attack cycle before. Okay, so that initializes the admiral. You know what, let's check this off the list. So starting, we just played the admirals. We place the armies on the boat. We also have the ability to punch the starting country. So now we need to punch the defending country, or destination country, and choose the defending player. Okay. And actually, we need to do a thing where if you punch an invalid country, or if there is no country that you can attack from there, then call it off automatically. So we need to cancel attack, that MC function. Canceling the attack when there's an admiral going is a little bit tough, but we can do that, I think. So we do... Oh, and we also need to call this attack army. New boat, attack army. Okay. It's basically a floating country. Oh, and we also... Let's do a fun thing. So throwing the dice, we have the ability to rotate the dice as we please. And so... we should randomly rotate the boat as well. Just for the fun of it. Risk in dimension, tag equals new boat. Well, actually, there should only be one boat, so we don't actually need to do this. Okay. So we're going to replace at S with, we're going to replace at S with at this. Oh, this should be limit equals 1. Just to make sure that we're not causing any problems. Okay. Okay, cool. So this is just to randomly rotate the boat. Might as well have some fun with things, just a little bit. And then there we go. So that does that. Okay. So from there, cancel attack. So first off, big loud thing to yell at the player for doing that. So you can't attack. You can't attack from there. Although could we do this in phase 1 maybe? Let's see. instead of doing a cancel attack, let's just yell at the player right away if they try to do something stupid in phase 1 when you're first selecting the country. So this will be in punch. So if it's attack before phase 1, then the country you punch should be one that you own. So in fact, we should maybe put this in a different function. I don't want a Warframe script. I want a text document. Before phase 1, validate attack, that MC function. Return 0. So we're going to add scoreboard, objectives, add kvalid dummy, run function, risk the attack cycle before phase 1, validate attack. And then we go run, well, if score ktemp, valid kvalid matches 1. Well, if it matches, well, unless it matches 1. Unless score ktemp kvalid matches 1, run return run, just say you can't attack from here. Okay, and that will clear out any problems. Actually, run that, then return run, scoreboard objectives remove, kvalid, and then otherwise just remove the scoreboard. And that should take care of the rest of this. So validate the attack, and then roll with it. Roll with whatever the attack is. Droopy likes Ricochet. Who the heck is Droopy and why do they like Ricochet? Who knows? It's a fun song. Okay. So this is where we go. If you're attacking somebody, so if you don't own the country, can't attack from there. And then we do if there is nowhere to attack, okay, so if there's an admiral, in board games risk, if block, if you're using an admiral and you didn't select a shore country, can't attack from there. Okay. Wrong thing. Oh, actually it is the right thing. I need to check this block right here. Are you allowed to use an admiral? Or is there an active admiral? If that's an amethyst block, then run. And if entity, if it's not tagged as onshore, then run return 0. Let's return run scoreboard players set ktemp kvalid to 0 instead of just returning 0, because returning 0 is kind of useless. But if we do something like this, then we can assume that it's valid and have an insta-fail system. Like instant fail. Okay. Let's see. So we have kvalid, which means in the attack cycle before, we need to do a thing where each country also imports not just a country ID, but also whether or not you're onshore. There we go. Cool. So if you're not tagged as onshore, then you can't use an admiral there. Otherwise, if you're using an admiral, then it's automatically valid, assuming you pass the previous stuff. Oh, actually. This is a point where we now, so I guess this would be the point where we check for the existence of a country that you actually can attack. So let's see. We're going to do, if you are using an amethyst block, then run execute as add e predicate equals risk in dimension tag equals onshore, well, tag equals country, tag equals onshore. Each one run. So if there is an opposing, country which is on the shore and which is not a castle, then there exists a thing that you can attack. There must exist an opposing country on the shore which is not a castle. Okay. So for each country that is on a shore and which is not a castle, we check if actually, I think I have an easier way to do it. If entity at s tag equals player 1, if entity, and if there exists an entity which has a tag of country, is tagged to being onshore, is not a castle, and is and is not player 1, then we return that this is actually valid. Okay, so we can actually start from being invalid. We confirm that it's invalid if you run into any of these issues. So there must exist an opposing country on the shore which is not a castle. 6. And if such a country exists, then this is a valid place to attack from. Okay, so that also means that before phase 1 should also probably input whether or not it's a castle. So if it's tagged as castle, then we do that. Okay. So if there is a country which is on the shore, which is not a castle, and it's not owned by player 1. Otherwise, it's invalid. And then at this point, there's nothing left to consider. We just, if you're using an admiral, those are the only checks that need to be made. And then, if not using an admiral, look up the connection database and see if the neighboring countries and if there is no neighboring country, no neighboring opposing country, then invalid. Valid if there exists a neighboring opposing country. Okay. So how to do this? So first off, in board games risk, if block, so if we're using the risk map, we need 1258 minus 9. So if that is a redstone block, then we'd run function risk z map risk slash. So this is now map specific. We need to generate connections. That MC function. And we also need admiral points. We need that for both of these. Okay. So we generate connections. And then how's this going to work? So when we generate the connections, oh, this is also a fun song. Okay. So I have the list of connections right here. And to do this, let's see, we're going to do scoreboard objectives, add connection ID, dummy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's do this. So then we're going to execute in board games risk. Run summon an armor stand at 0 to 550. This will have tags of connection, tagged as new connection, and no gravity. This is a very temporary armor stand, which only exists to tell if this is a new connection. So we're going to set risk in dimension tag equals new connection. We're going to set its K connection ID to 001, 002, for example. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so we're just going to do that for all of these different connections. We're not going to do that here on stream because that would be excruciatingly boring. I just might make a Java program just to fill this in for me. But once we have this, we also need to do tag ID predicate equals risk in dimension, tag equals new connection, remove new connection. So we have a connection ID, and we have a bunch of armor stands all tagged as the connector. So what do I mean by connector? This is basically the thing that'll make the map work as an actual map. It's basically a list of saying that, like, hey, this country is connected to this country, this one, that one, and this one, as well as this one. It deals with these lines here. So like, this country will be connected to this country, that one, and that one, because they share a border and they also share a line here. That's basically what the connection ID does. And we have this kind of code here with 001, 002. It's the same kind of thing that we did with Ticket to Ride, where basically one set of numbers is what country you're starting from. The other set is what country you're going to. And why do we store it as all one number? Because of the trick that we're about to do. Okay, so let's close this list of connections. So we have connection ID. So we need to generate connections for both Risk and Castle Risk. So from there, we do scoreboard objectives add E of add. Let's see if we do country 1 dummy and country 2 dummy. So then we do execute as at E predicate equals risk in dimension tag equals connection. Run scoreboard players operation at S country 1 equals at S K connection ID. And then we do, and we also set the country 2 to that. And then we extract the information that we're looking for. So we do, let's see. So then we do scoreboard objectives, add 1000, scoreboard players set K temp 1000 to 1000. So let's say we had K connection ID dummy. So let's say we had a connection ID of, let's say it was 001, 005. So 1005. So what you could do is objectives add 1000 dummy, and we set that to 1000. So what this does, so what we do from here is we essentially do a, we're going to do a scoreboard players operation, me connection ID. So what I can do is do, what do these do? Interesting. Okay, so if we divide by 1000, so if you take 1005 and divide by 1000, you should expect to get 1 point something. But of course, Minecraft can't handle can't handle decimals, so it'll... Oh, we need to do... Oh, you can't divide by 0. So we divide by 1,000. It can't handle decimals, so instead it will automatically chop off the decimal. It won't round anywhere, it'll just chop off the decimal, which makes things really nice. So it sets it to 1. Now on the other hand, let's say we had a country ID of 1005. If we instead wanted the other set of numbers, we do percent equals. That's basically what that does is basically it takes your country ID, divides by 1,000, but rather than doing the division, it gives you back the remainder. So in this case, the remainder would be 5, and there we go. The other country ID is 5. So that's the power of being smart with how you do your IDs, because you can extract information from that. So let's remove connection ID. Let's remove 1,000. Okay, so that does that. So now we're going to just do this. Basically, every single one of those connection armor stands is going to have a country 1 and a country 2. So we're going to... Country 1 is going to be divide by 1,000. And the other one's going to be country 2, which is This is called a modulus, by the way. So it'll take the country 2 and divide by 1,000 and take its remainder. I should maybe call this K1000. Because just having constants like this is very useful in other places. Like, I use this all the time in Ticket to Ride. That's how the edge ID works. That's how the edge IDs work. Okay, so now based on this, what can we do? Okay, add K1000, K10,000. Okay, so we've extracted country 1 and country 2. So now all of these armor stands are going to have some kind of... So ideally, all those armor stands are either going to have country 1 as the starting country that you're proposing, or country 2 is going to be the country that you're proposing. And we should remove any armor stands that don't have that. So let's see how to think through this. Can we detect a not equals? If we do execute if score, say that. Nope, you can't do execute if not equal to with scores. Dang it. Fine. So let's do execute as add e tag equals connection, and then we do execute unless score so unless score at s country 1 equals how do we decide where we're doing? Okay, so we do scoreboard operation, scoreboard players operation, ktemp country ID equals, we're going to import the country ID from where you've just punched. Hello, viewer. Welcome. We're doing some coding. So if the country 1, so unless country 1 matches country ID, and unless country 2 matches, there's going to be a problem. Actually, is it? Because you also can't do OR statements. So let's think through this. Does this make sense? And then we run kill out as if that's the case. So let's pick out a single arm stand out of this collection. Let's say it had ID 1005 or 001005. So country 1 is going to be 1, country 2 is going to be 5. So if you're attacking from country 1, then it'll be unless score country 1 equals country ID. So that is true, which means that will be false, so it'll cut off the rest and not execute. Meanwhile, if we're attacking from country 5, the first one will pass, but the second one won't. But if we're attacking from, say, country 6, then country 1 is not equal and country 2 is not equal. So it'll kill off that armor stand. Okay. So I think that takes care of that. So that'll clean up the armor stands. So now we need to detect which ones specifically we're coming from. So we're going to do execute as risk in dimension, tag equals connection, run execute if score at s country 1 equals ktemp country ID. So this means if we are in fact attacking from country 1, then what do we do? Actually, there's going to be a problem. Okay, so each of these have country ID, and each of these have just country 1. So if we just do this, risk in dimension, tag equals connection, country ID. So basically import the country ID onto all of the connection armor stands. So we just do that. And then if country 1 equals at s country ID, then run function. Okay, so here what we should do is, so this is attack cycle, validate attack. Find the neighbors, risk the attack cycle before phase 1, validate attack neighbors. So that means the neighbors will be country 2. And then if it's country 2 that matched, that means country 1 is the neighbor. Okay, so let's do that. So here we go. Scoreboard, players, operation, ktemp, country ID equals at s country 2, and then we do tag at e, predicate equals risk in dimension, tag equals country, and as well we use the predicate. Predicate equals match country ID. So you basically set the country ID to the temporary scoreboard, which is what the comparison is being done, and it sets it to country 2 temporarily, and each of those is going to add valid or neighbor. Let's tag it as neighbor. And actually, let's not do 2 files for this. Let's just do 1. So we do this. So if country 1 matches the desired country ID, then we check country 2 for neighbors. Otherwise, check country 1 for neighbors. Okay. Cool. And now if we have neighbors, we're now going to do the same kind of thing that we did for admirals. So we do execute if entity, and this time we're not going to return because we have some cleanup to do. So if there is a country which is tagged as neighbor, which is not owned by player 1, then it's valid. Okay. So if you are player 1 and there exists a country which is a neighbor and is not owned by player 1, then you can attack there. Okay, cool. 4, 5, 6. Okay, I'm gonna finish this before we end. And also a good chance to finish the album. Okay, so that is that done. Okay, and then we clean up. So we need to remove country 1. We need to remove country 2. We need to kill off the connections. And we need to remove any fancy tags that we added on. Tag equals neighbor. Remove neighbor. Okay. So it's assumed to be invalid. If you don't own the country, then you can't attack from there. So that's this. If you're using an admiral and you didn't select a shore country, you can't attack from there. So all is good there. And then, if you're using an admiral, there must exist an opposing country on the shore, which is not a castle. So that's this. And then if you're not using an admiral, look up the connection database, and there must exist a neighboring opposing country. So we need an opposing country, which is also a neighbor. And that's what this whole thing does. It's exactly the same thing as we did with Ticket to Ride. So we do generate connections. We generate the connections, extract the country ID, and then add country 1 and country 2. We extract which country the connection is specifically referring to. And then if we ignore any connections that aren't relevant to our situation. And then if so we do need to do that. So then if there is a match, then we validate, we basically tag the things as neighbors. And then we go, if there is a country which is a neighbor and it is not owned by player 1, then it is valid. And then we clean up. Okay. Cool. I think that does it. Do we have any other mess? Nope, I think that does it. This is going to be very, very laggy because this needs to summon like, I think 100 different armor stands just to verify the connections. Although the armor stands are going to summon and then desummon really quickly, and it'll only do that when you select a country. So we just need to be careful about how often we execute this thing. Okay, so now we have validated the attack. And we validate the attack when we punch the potential attacking country. So then it'll yell at you saying, you can't attack from here. Then removes. Okay. Cool. And then continues on with attack cycle before. Okay. Whew. Okay, that was a lot. Let's do one last thing, which is phase 3. So in phase 3, this is where we set up to be able to punch the destination country. So here we do, this also means we need to go into punch here. And it'll also decide who is defender. Okay. So we do, okay. Also validates the attack. Well, actually, this is just punch the destination country. That's all that does. So basically, it needs to either be, if you're using an admiral, it needs to be on the shore, and if it's not if you're not using an admiral, only go after neighbors. So actually, we need a phase 4. And that'll be phase 5. So from here, phase 4, once you punch the destination country, this is after you actually decide where your destination is. At which point, decide who is the defending player. Okay. Summon interactions at the potential opposing countries. And then we decide on who is the defending player. Before phase 4. Figure out defending player. Okay, so here we do, this one's actually fairly straightforward. So we do execute if entity at E, predict equals risk in dimension, tag equals defense army, because when you punch the interaction to decide where your destination is, you're basically tagging that thing as the defense army. So if entity defense army, then if the defense army is tagged as player 1, then run tag it A, predicate equals risk and dimension, tag equals player 1, tag you as defense. So we do 1 through 6. And then if it's tagged as an independent, then we choose a random player to be defense, or a random player who is not the attacking player. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Nothing unusual to be seen here. The attack cycle, actually, attack cycle before. Okay, and then it stops everything. Okay, so now we need to summon interactions at the potential opposing countries. So this is where we do, well, really it's about removing interactions which are not valid countries. I think that's a remove interactions at invalid countries to attack. Okay, so this is basically, we're going to more or less copy paste what we did to validate the attack, except this time around it's not about validity, it's about who can be attacked. So then if entity at E so here we don't have a scoreboard. This time, if you own the country, you can't attack there. So then we're going to execute as at E, predicate equals risk and dimension, tag equals country, actually, type equals interaction, tag equals select country. So if you're player 1, then each country, if you are not a, okay, so we can't do punch, then run kill at S. So you can't select countries which you own. So we're going to do this just to make sure we don't cross our wires on accident. Okay. If you own the country, you can't attack there. If you're using an admiral, you can't attack a castle or a non-shore country. So then, if you're using an admiral, then we do as each select country, we go if your tag is not on shore and it is not a castle. Well, if it is on shore, yeah. Okay, let's think through this. So if you are not on shore and you are not a castle, you know what, let's just do this. If you're not on shore, kill at S. If you are a castle, kill at S. Okay, that's basically our or statement. So if you're not on the shore, you can't attack there. If you're a castle, you can't attack there with an admiral. Okay, so that basically takes care of this. And then if you're not using an admiral, look up the connection database and can only attack a neighboring opposing country. So let's do that. Yeah, we import from tag equals punch. We do the same kind of connection database stuff, kill off the connections that are unnecessary. Validate attack neighbors. And actually, maybe we should just do, instead of validate attack neighbors, we just do connections find neighbors. Because finding the neighbors is something that can be done regardless. It has nothing to do with necessarily the attack. Okay, so this is connections find neighbors, and we do that here as well. Okay, so now the question is, what do we do with the neighbor? So we're going to execute, oh, actually we do need to make this player specific. So if you're a player, then as each select country, if you are tagged as if you own the country, you can't attack the whole. That actually takes care of it already. So really it's just if you are not a neighbor, then ignore. So we don't need the player specific thing. So for each country, let's just do this actually. So we do kill at E. We can just do this actually. Okay. Any country which is not a neighbor. And then we do some cleanup. Okay. And that should do it. So this is removing interactions at the invalid countries that you cannot attack. So that means when it comes time to deciding where you can attack, any box that you punch at this point is going to be valid. Well, yeah, it is. So we do and actually when we decide where we're going, maybe we shouldn't do this actually. So if attack phase 1, tag the nearest country to be admiral country, and then the interaction needs to be the attack army is given to the country itself, at which point we should kill off the interaction that you just punched. Tag equals punch. We should just straight up erase it. Okay, so then from here, so now if it's phase 3, actually phase 4. If it's attacked before phase 3, then the country you punch is your destination country. So if attack phase matches 3, then we do, okay, so we do, if you're working with an admiral, then move the boat to there. So we do run TP, oh, that should be part of phase 4. If you have an admiral, move the boat. Okay, this is irrelevant. We're just going to so we're just going to execute at E tag equals punch, country, this will be defense army, which once we kill off the punched thing, and we do attack cycle before and activate stuff again. Okay, so that's that. And then last thing to do is phase 4. We move the admiral boat. So here we do initializing admiral, choose our admiral points again, and then this time we do execute as at E predicate equals risk in dimension, tag equals defense country or defense army, tag equals country, defense army, run execute add at S, so now we're going to do at every admiral point, at this point we should also remove the admiral points. Risk in dimension, tag equals admiral point. Okay. So then at the admiral point, we teleport the okay, so we can do at the defense army, at run execute add at S, run execute add at N, the admiral point, teleport the boat. So we teleport the boat to the admiral point. We then do a we shouldn't just teleport each. We shouldn't just teleport the boat. We should actually teleport everything that has country ID 199. That'll also transport all the army figurines that we're going to be using to there. And then we do, let's just do a random rotation again. Again on the boat. And then admiral point. And then do attack cycle before it. Oh. big loud crashing outside. Hope that isn't going too badly. Hope things are okay. 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 And I think that takes care of that. So now, I think that'll conclude things for this stream. So we have, we didn't play any spies, but also that's part of playing cards, so. Yeah, this should honestly be over here. Yeah, that is actually part of the attack cycle. Never mind. Okay, so we just punch the destination country and choose the defending player. Cool. And then, yeah, from there, now we have all the functionality to do the pre-attack cycle. So we can do all this now. And so I think what we can do is, as part of attack cycle after either a success or a failure, then we do from there we do the function risk attack cycle before. And we start the cycle back up. Okay, so what we've just done is we just did a bunch of, okay, so let's separate this as separate tasks. We just made it so we can play spies. Resolving is going to be part of the card process. So that's going to be its own, that's going to be basically its own thing. So there we go. It's 9:30. We started a little late, so we're going to end late. Hopefully this stream wasn't too boring for you, but I'm very happy with the progress that we've made. So I think the next phase of, so that's essentially the attack cycle complete. We're finally moving this way. We're moving left, moving over here. Okay, so maybe we should have like a separate board here. Card functionality. So obviously Castle Risk is going to be the one that has the most involved things. But we do, so we have, oh, nice. Good to see you. I don't know if you want me to say your full name there, but I don't want to dox you, but thanks for joining. Okay, so we have Admiral, Spy, General, Marshal. We have Reinforcements, Diplomat. Those are the 6 cards for Castle Risk. And then for regular Risk, we have pairs of cards. That should be green. These need to be all light gray because it's part of the to-do board. Okay, so playing each of those cards needs to have some, they all have different functionality. So that'll be its own thing, probably an entire live stream all on its own. So yeah, that's the deal. And so I think it's time that we end this stream as we traditionally do. Normally I have the music going to end the stream, but today I decided not. But we are still going to do this. We're going to put on an elytra, turn off the hitboxes, set my spawn point, and then we end with the bang. So I hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll see ya next time. Switch to adventure mode. And later. Went off with the bang.